We also got out of our own backyard. Ann Hobbs and her crew at the University of Nebraska Omaha have absolutely shined a light on the path forward for us here in Kansas. With no fear, they have revealed their missteps as well as their missions accomplished. They have held nothing back, spared no time or resources in saying yes to all our asks, and then added, "How else can I help?" Ann?
Good to see all of you, and I hope I meet all of you. Shelley, I'd really like to meet you, but I would like to meet everybody that's been involved in this process. And for our coordinators, let me know if I go past time. Of course, my watch died this morning. So I'm going to I want to talk a little bit about Nebraska's experience, and I want to use the kind of analogy of marriage and children because I don't think anybody gets into, a marriage or having children thinking it's going to be a short-term endeavor. And in Nebraska, this has indeed been a really long-term project. I don't know that we knew that totally getting into it. So I'm going to start with really before we began working at state. That was the marriage. But before that, we had started working with our communities, really hand in glove. And that probably goes back 20 years, where we just started forming these meaningful relationships and working very closely with them. So using my analogy, you'll see, yes, we had children before we were married. But what that told us was we knew things were fragmented, and we saw a different vision, just like Shelley did. Our process was really very, very, very similar to the circles discussion that Greg had. We used slightly different. The frame that we used is steeped in collective impact, which comes out of Stanford University. We talk about having a shared agenda, using shared measures, and then reinforcing relationships, which is fosters kind of respect for one another, having regular communication, and then having a backbone agency that pulls all of this together. So that was the framework that we started using years and years ago. Again, looking to the future, that this would be, a long-term relationship with our counties. From that, we built a toolkit, and I can't remember who the speaker was this morning, but I distinctly remember having one of these community conversations, and this is how dated it is. We were talking about some youth, specifically minority youth, couldn't get out of our detention center because in those days, your electronic monitor had to be tied to a landline. And so that, from that discussion, like in a few hours, we turned that pattern around by offering funds for landlines and changing that pattern. And that individual that set that up is now our court administrator in Nebraska. So bringing these communities together and having those kind of surprising conversations was definitely where we started. And having meaningful relationships and listening respectfully. So things were going so well that about 10 years ago, we decided to make this a formal relationship and legally binding. So we got married. And what that looked like is we went to the legislature and we asked to draft a statute that would bring together our Nebraska Crime Commission and the university, again, in a very formal relationship. We knew that this would bring together some of that consistency. It would give us the ability to create a data system and use shared measurement and very consistent tools across multiple counties. So even though we were having one-to-one relationships with all of these individual counties, we wanted it to be all under one umbrella. So we got married. And things were just absolutely, we definitely had a honeymoon for probably a good 3-4 years. Things were just lovely. We saw eye to eye. We were really saving counties money because we could do pretty high-end evaluations. The programmers loved us. Everybody was in sync. It was really, really just absolutely beautiful. And then our relationship began to change. And really how I think that happened is we had a couple of administrators retire and it changed, our partner changed. And so we were not sure if we were going to be able to continue in this relationship. It's definitely strained for probably a year or two. And problems that were coming out were the state agency wanted a data set that was stable and would not change and wasn't flexible to meet county needs. And like any relationship, like that just doesn't work, right? We needed something that we could continue to revise and build. And so we actually had some therapy sessions that involved some of our legislators and, kind of key stakeholders in the state. And they brought us together at a table, and we were able to continue in kind of a tenuous relationship. Some days still strained, but mostly moving forward and realizing that, we need this long-term endeavor and relationship for the benefit of our state and for the benefit of our youth. So even though some days we have some issues, we are clearly moving forward, and the counties still really benefit. I will say that they felt the strain, just like children would feel a strain in a relationship. The counties felt some of this strain when we went through this. Kind of as I start to wrap it up, I just want to point out a couple of things that this ongoing design, the sustainability has really allowed, I think it's allowed the state to know long-term that they would have somebody kind of at the ready that would pull research, pull data, give data to counties. So they knew that this would create, a good foundation. Similarly, the framework that we used with Collective Impact provided a very solid foundation for the communities that we're working with. So, kind of fast forwarding to where we're at today, I feel like we do have solid foundations that hopefully will continue well into the future. But they're not without challenges. We definitely struggle some days with not having a common vision. And I think both pieces were absolutely necessary. And then if I was going to offer advice, I don't know if you've necessarily asked for it, but just knowing, like you're going to have those ups and downs and just weathering it as administrators change. It has been so helpful to have this written into statute, because otherwise I think we would have been replaced. So, I think I'll stick around for questions. I'm free today to stick around for a little bit. So.